today to be here to share the 70th anniversary of the forming of the United Nations. United Nations came into being 7 decades after its founding. 7 decades after its founding, the United Nations remains only platform in the world that brings together friends and foes on the world stage. The stage remains relevant and cannot be duplicated. The United Nations was created to succeed, to save succeeding generations from war, protect human rights, establish conditions of justice, promote social progress, and better standards of life. The fundamental objectives remain critical today as we age to 70 years, the same as 70 years ago as well. In its 70 years, the United Nations has been the subject of much debate, praise, and equal share of criticism. Doug Hammarskjöld once said, the United Nations was created to make humanity, the United Nations was not created to take humanity to heaven, but to save them from hell. The current session of the General Assembly focused on many issues of war. But anyway, our current Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, also said, the global problems we face today can never be resolved by only one country acting alone. As the world's only truly universal institution, the United Nations offers the best, if not the only formal forum globally to take action to meet the challenges ahead. From conflict prevention and humanitarian assistance to peacekeeping and peace building, we work on a broad range of fundamental issues. Here in Guyana, the United Nations and its family of agencies are working with other partners to support the government and the people of this country to improve nutrition security, protect the right of children and youth, promote dialogue, and improve governance, education planning at all levels, support essential health services, sexual and reproductive health, and fight HIV, as well as provide policy guidance and strategic support for the extractive industries. Every day, the United Nations still goes to places where other actors cannot and will not go to reach the world's vulnerable. Even with our global presence, we will continue to strengthen existing partnerships and form innovative new ones, and we lead the bold new 2030 global agenda known as SDGs, which was adopted on September 25th this year. The global goals represent the launchpad for action by the international community and by national governments to promote shared prosperity and well-being for the world for the next 15 years. The world leaders have committed to 17 goals. To achieve each 3 extraordinary things in the next 15 years: to end poverty, fight inequality and injustice, and to fix climate change. And I hope we are able to do that particularly. On this, our 70th anniversary, I recognize the dedicated staff of UN in Guyana. I also honor the many who made the ultimate sacrifices in line of duty globally, and those who continue to this day to sacrifice every day to go to an area where there is conflict, and when they do not know that they leave, whether they will come back, because they leave their families behind and go to situations which are extremely critical. It is the devotion of our staff that keeps the UN ticking and its member states put in a position to continue to make decisions to save the next generation from scars of war and continue to build on the peace that we have achieved. That peace is very delicate and elusive, as in the world around the globe, as you can see, wars continue to break out. It may not be all over, but they are very dangerous and they keep affecting societies as we continue to fight and to try our best to keep peace. The UN never fails to engage. The UN will always be there, and the UN thanks its member state for the support it has received to date for 70 years. Membership earlier, 70 years ago, was 55 countries. Today, 193 countries. And the strength of 193 countries continues to give strength to the UN and continues to make it the only place where everyone can walk in the same corridor. And whether they like each other or not, it is the only place where they can dialogue. This is really important. Also, all of the people who are affected in the world looks towards the UN to come and do something and bring the member states to do something. And we will continue to do that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought I'd gotten over my 70th birthday celebrations 2 months ago, but I understand this evening I'll be sticking a cake again. So I was 70 in July, and well, so this evening I'm very happy and honored to be here among you to celebrate the coming into force of the Charter of the United Nations on the 24th of October 1945. This is the day that the Charter came into force. The Second World War ended in Europe on the 8th of May 1945 with the unconditional surrender of the Axis powers. The Charter was signed the very next month on the 26th of June 1945 in San Francisco in the United States at the conclusion of the United Nations Conference on International Organization. That was one of the greatest moments in world history. The end of the war in Europe not only brought an end to global warfare, but it also brought about the collapse, eventually, of some of the huge European empires which dominated the South. The Belgians, the British, the Dutch, the French, the Italian, the Portuguese, and the Spanish empires. The collapse of these empires started a process of decolonization and eventually spawned a plethora of independent new states in Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, and the Pacific. Guyana is one of those states, the beneficiary of the dividend of the United Nations, the end of the Second World War. The Charter, therefore, was timely. It has become an irreplaceable regime for regulating relations among scores of states. Today, therefore, is a special day, not only for the United Nations organization, but for all the nations of the world and for all humanity. Guyana is pleased this evening to be part of the worldwide celebrations taking place to commemorate this special event. And it is good that we should do so. The United Nations at this very moment is preventing conflict somewhere. Its mediators are bringing adversaries to talk to each other. It is defending people's human rights. It is feeding the hungry. It is sheltering the homeless. It is vaccinating children against disease. Its relief workers are delivering life-saving assistance to hundreds of thousands. Secretary General Ban Ki-moon reminded us also, and I quote, "The United Nations works for the entire family, the entire human family of 7 billion people, and cares for the earth, our one and only home. And it is the diverse and talented staff of the United Nations who helped to bring the Charter to life." The Cooperative Republic of Guyana, a small state, has seen foreign investors intimidated. It has seen foreign petroleum exploration terminated by gunboats from the east, gunboats from the west. And even now, it is enduring the painful illegal occupation of its territory. Guyana seeks the peace that only international organization could promise. It seeks the collective security measures that only the United Nations could provide. Guyana is eternally grateful to the United Nations. Guyana is confident, and we iterate our complete commitment to the aims and purposes of the United Nations Charter, especially Article 1, which states, inter alia, and I quote, "to maintain international peace and security, and to that end, to take effective collective measures for the prevention and removal of threats to peace and for the suppression of acts of aggression or other breaches of peace, and to bring about by peaceful means and in conformity with the principles of justice and international law, adjustment or settlement of international disputes or situations which might lead to a breach of peace." The Charter again, at Article 2, further states as one of its principles, and I quote again, "All members shall settle their international disputes by peaceful means in such a manner that international peace and security and justice are not endangered. All members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territory or the territorial integrity or political independence of any other state, or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations," end quote. The Charter, therefore, is our refuge. The Charter, the birth of which we celebrate today, is meant to provide the peace and security that the world needs. It is meant to provide the peace and security that Guyana needs if our citizens are to have a safe and good life. We applaud the vision of the founders of the United Nations. We applaud particularly their recognition that peace is linked with the respect for human rights and the promotion of the economic and social advancement of all peoples. Guyana applauds the promulgation by the United Nations of 3 significant legal instruments which have expanded the scope of rights, namely the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and the Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. These legal instruments have advanced the cause of humanity around the world. Guyana is supportive of the level of international cooperation and collaboration achieved by the United Nations and its agencies in the promotion of sustainable development. The adoption in 2000 of the Millennium Development Goals and the adoption last month of the Sustainable Development Goals is testimony to the importance that the United Nations has attached towards developing templates to advance the cause of sustainable development around the world. Guyana is committed to achieving the targets adopted by the recent Sustainable Development Summit. These are all in conformity with our own national development objectives. We express our appreciation for the tireless work of the United Nations and its agencies in forging international and national solutions to problems. We are a small coastal state. We are highly susceptible to the adverse effects of climate change, such as rising sea levels. The future of small states hangs in the balance should a satisfactory binding global agreement not be achieved in Paris. We look forward in this regard to the successful outcome of next month's 2015 United Nations Conference on Climate Change, which is to be held in Paris. Guyana salutes the efforts made by the United Nations over the past 7 decades. The world would have been a less safe place were it not for the efforts of the UN and for the organizations advancing peace, security, economic and social progress and freedom across the planet. Guyana joins in thanking the resident coordinator, Her Excellency Khadija Musa, for her tireless efforts and for the excellent work that she and her staff at the United Nations family here in Georgetown have been doing, bringing the Charter to life right here in Guyana. Madam Resident Coordinator, please convey the gratitude and congratulations of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana to the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency, Mr. Ban Ki-moon. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to join me in a toast to the health of the Secretary General and the United Nations family, and to the work of the United Nations. Please rise, let us propose a toast. To the United Nations.